Welcome back to NUICfootball.com. I'm your host, Kyle Kammeyer, and we get ready to enter into week 3. Last week, week 2, answered some questions, but there's still plenty more that needs to be answered yet as the season continues to move forward. First off, Galena Winslow showed why they are a state title threat with a methodical and balanced attack as they rushed for 388 yards and 4 touchdowns against number 6 ranked Fulton. There are still some big games ahead for the Panthers, but right now they are at the head of the table. Our second thing to look at last week was Dakota. They may have showed us they are ready to stay in the top half of the NUIC. Despite the loss to Forreston, they did outgain the Carroll, trying to win or hope to win out the last 4 weeks to get back to the playoffs. On the 8-man front, Amboy, Polo, and Milledgeville have shot out of the cannon through the first 2 weeks. They are head and shoulders above the rest of the North teams. However, we're going to begin to get a clearer picture of what to expect over the next 3 weeks as Polo, Milledgeville, Amboy, and Ridgewood are all going to get set to start meeting each other and paint us a picture of the 8-man landscape. There's a couple games for us to watch here in the NUIC. First off is Forreston at Galena. Can the Pirates move to 3-0 and upset the Cardinals, who have come away with top 10 wins in back-to-back weeks? Galena Winslow at Stockton. Are the Blackhawks ready to show that they belong among the NUIC top teams? An impressive Week 1 performance followed by a big win has them riding high. But now they have to entertain the 3-time defending state champs. EPC at Fulton. Which winless team can capture their first win? Fulton has faced the number 1 and number 2 teams in back-to-back weeks. Can they get back on track, or is EPC ready to fight for that playoff spot? Milledgeville at Polo. The Missiles face their toughest challenge and won't see another one until week 6. Can they stay hot, or will the Marcos return a 3-touchdown loss around on the Missiles? Amboy at Martinsville. The Clippers have sailed out of the gates as expected, but get their first top 10 matchup with the Blue Streaks. Can they continue to wreak havoc over the 8-man field? We'll have that and more coming up next.
This NUICfootball.com production is powered by Lemon's Ambulance Service in Lena, Illinois. We always plan for the expected, but sometimes we need to plan for the unexpected. Lemons has been serving Stevenson and Joe Daviess counties since 1869. Call someone you can trust in your time of need. Call Lemons Ambulance Service. Rose Bowman and the Choice Realty team understand that buying or selling real estate is among the most important financial transactions of your life. They are dedicated to providing personal and thorough service with a sharp focus on their clients' needs. Their licensed staff looks forward to assisting you in any of the following areas: residential, condominiums, new construction, land, farms, commercial, investment, or leasing. Choice Realty is locally owned and operated with offices in Freeport, Galena, and the Galena territories. So when it's time to buy or sell, give Rose Bowman a call at 630-697-2480.
All right, we're going to begin on the 8-man side of things. The first game we have is Amboy at Martinsville. Both teams come in with matching 2-0 records, as last week Amboy won 80-8 over River Ridge, and Martinsville beat Metro East Lutheran 56-0. These two teams did not play a year ago, and Amboy will enter this game ranked number 1, while Martinsville enters ranked number 10. Couple things to look at here. We don't have much information on Martinsville. Last time we saw Martinsville play was a game against Orangeville 2 years ago when Orangeville made a run to the state championship game. However, the Clippers keep doing what the Clippers do. Last week, Landon Welcho had 114 yards and 3 touchdowns. Quinn Leffelman pitched in with 87 yards and a touchdown. Eddie Jones was perfect, throwing the ball 4 for 4 for 108 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Brennan Blaine had 3 receptions for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. So right now, all the eyes are focused on Amboy as they continue to just run over the competition that's played out in front of them. But with Martinsville, they will face a top 10 team here that could provide them some fits. But at the end of the day, the Clippers are still going to enter this game as 3-touchdown favorites. And while we don't have a lot of information on the Blue Streaks at this point, it is safe to say that we know plenty of what Amboy is and what they have. And you can expect the Clippers to continue to fight forward and continue to dominate. And this game looks to be no different as the Clippers look to win big against Martinsville. Orangeville at River Ridge is the next game we're going to look at. Orangeville enters this game 1-1 after they lost to Polo last week 50-6, and River Ridge enters the game 0-2 as they lost to Amboy 80-8. Last year, these two teams met up in Week 9, where River Ridge walked away with an 86-64 win at Orangeville on a Saturday afternoon. Obviously, this is going to be a big game for both teams, but more so for River Ridge, as they have opened up with two ranked teams already, and they still have two more ranked teams on the schedule. This game should be close, but River Ridge is going to enter as a slight favorite over the Broncos, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that both teams return quite a bit of the same players that they had a year ago, where River Ridge came out with that 3-touchdown win. Obviously, for the Wildcats, they have not been able to put up a lot offensively, facing Milledgeville and Amboy in back-to-back weeks. And their leading rusher is George Winter with 61 yards so far through the first two games. And they need to get him going. He's got to be a big part of what the Wildcats do in order for them to find success. On top of that, Seth Nicholas also needs to be able to pitch in and help out as well. Right now, he sits right around 50-some yards rushing on the season, and they got to get more offensive production. Obviously, Coach Nicholas is going to be understanding of that need and expects to start turning things around and knowing that they have to go out and get the win here against Orangeville. For the Broncos, they got to rely on Blake Fulgate. Blake Fulgate has to be that guy that gets the Broncos going. I was talking to somebody last week, and without Fulgate in the offense, there's only so much that Cody Worth, that quarterback, can do. And running the ball right now behind that offensive line, albeit it was against Polo, and a top-ranked team like the Marcos can wreak havoc on a lot of teams, that offensive line has to be able to get better production and create better holes. That way Fulgate can get off and get running, and on the other side of it, Worth has time to be able to pass the ball downfield. Fulgate did happen to run for 113 yards and a touchdown last week, but at the same token, for the Broncos to find success, that offensive line has to be able to find the way to fight off the ball and make plays in front of them and blocks to get Fulgate loose. If they can do that, the Broncos can find themselves in this game. But my money is on River Ridge at the moment because I just feel that they are waiting to explode with the offense that they do have, knowing that the playmakers that they have are capable of putting up big games. And right now, they need it. They need it right now, especially having two more ranked teams. This game means more to River Ridge going into Week 3 than it does Orangeville. It's hard to say that because every game that you play in high school football, you need to have a win. But right now, this is River Ridge's game that they need to win, and they're my pick to win in this one.
Our 8-man game of the week is brought to you by Best Realty. Best Realty has been helping Northern Illinois tackle their real estate needs since 1990. Whether you're buying or selling, in the market for residential, commercial, or acreage, they'll help you get the best deal. Call the Best Realty team at 815-248-3408 or visit them online at bestrealtyproperties.com.
Our Best Realty 8-man game of the week puts us in Polo, where the Marcos are going to play host to Milledgeville. Both teams enter this game undefeated as expected, with Milledgeville beating Quest Charter Academy 64-14 last week, and Polo getting that win over Orangeville 50-6. This game is a top 3 matchup as Polo enters ranked number 2 and Milledgeville at number 3. Last year, this game also featured the same thing where they were ranked 2 and 3 going in, but the roles were reversed. Milledgeville was number 2, Polo was number 3. Can Polo pull this one out at home? Right now, the Marcos will enter this game as a 6-point favorite, but this is a very big thing. Last year, this game was a back-and-forth game before Milledgeville broke open for a 3-touchdown win with a final score of 54-38. Taking a look at Milledgeville, they're led by Connor Nye. Last week, Nye added on to his Player of the Week honors from the week before, throwing 7 of 7 for 184 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then running the ball twice, both going for 2 more scores in that big win that they had over Quest Charter Academy. On the other side of the ball is potential Player of the Year candidate as well in Brock Solto. He only ripped off 248 yards and 4 touchdowns while throwing another touchdown pass for 10 yards in the game against Orangeville. But both these guys are the catalysts behind their offenses. And, with Solto basically running out of the quarterback position, they're going to be able to do some things that can move the ball in a different way for them. It's something that we saw from other teams in recent years where they were struggling to get the ball moving forward, so they moved the halfback to the quarterback and just gave the ball right to them right away, get them moving forward, stuff like that. That's what Polo's kind of done with Brock Solto here, where they just want to get him the ball directly in his hands and let him make plays. With that, though, you have to be able to have good blocking schemes up front for that to happen. And at the same time, they do rely on Solto to kind of make plays as it goes, using his athleticism to his abilities. With that, though, they do have a nice little kickback in Dilo Fernandez. And another thing that we did get to see this past weekend was Carter Murdian able to throw the ball. And he's got a nice ball that he can get downfield, left-handed quarterback. So Polo definitely has options to move the ball through the air and on the ground. It just depends on what option they want to go with. Obviously, with Milledgeville, though, Connor Nye's the guy that's going to move it. He can move it on the ground. He can move it through the air. He's a true dual-threat quarterback in all sense, and he directs this offense very well. This is the 3rd year of him in this offense. We've seen him do it year after year now, and it continues to hold true here. The Missiles have to find somebody, though, that can help support Connor in this offense. At some point, they're going to come up against a Polo, an Amboy, or even a Ridgewood, where they're going to need more than just Nye to be able to run the offense, whether it be Spencer Nye, Micah Tom Smith. Somebody has to be able to be another key element playmaker. They have Connor Johnson as well. And, with that, this should be a big game. Obviously, it's our game of the week for a reason. Number 2 versus number 3. It doesn't get much bigger than this right now. These are 2 of the teams that we expect to see playing for the right to get to the state championship game, depending on how things plan out in the seedings when they come out in October. This could be a potential state championship matchup for all we know. We've seen it before, and it's possible to have that happen again. So this is going to be a great feel for what playoff football is going to look like in 8-man come this October. Right now, though, Polo is the favorite, and I would have to say my pick, though, to win is going to be the Marcos as well. I like what I've seen out of them so far, and the ability of them to be able to do just a little bit more early in the season gives me a little bit of a hesitation against what Milledgeville can do against the Marcos. But you never know. I expect this to be a very close game. This should be a fun one down in Polo.
This portion of our broadcast is brought to you by Diedrich Epoxy Flooring. Serving northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin, Diedrich Epoxy is the source for all of your epoxy needs. Give Diedrich Epoxy Flooring a call today at 815-239-1158 for your free estimate.
All right, we're going to move over to the 11-man side of things, where the first game we're going to talk about would be a potential Game of the Week nomination, but it's not our Game of the Week this week. However, it's still a big game as we have Forreston at Galena. Both games entered this game at 2-0. Last week, Forreston beat Dakota 18-8, and Galena beat West Carroll 49-0. Last year, Forreston won this game in Week 5, 46-14. These two teams met in the playoffs back in 2021, where Forreston survived an upset bid by the Pirates. Can Galena provide that scare again? Forreston's going to enter this game as a 2-touchdown favorite, so it's very hard to tell, how far and improved Galena really is. They have not had a true test outside of EPC in Week 1, which they answered the call to that one, beating EPC convincingly 28-6. Obviously, last week with West Carroll, not something that we really can write in stone as a competition level might state. But they have that first true test right now with Forreston. Obviously, for the Cardinals, Micah Nelson leads the way last week. He had 56 yards rushing. Caleb Sanders had 45 yards rushing. Owen Mulder added 23 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Forreston's doing what the Cardinals do, and that is running back by committee. It works for Coach Janicki and the Cardinals. They keep fresh legs. They keep things churning. The only question mark so far for the Cardinals is while they are 2-0, and a lot of people still have them ranked number 2 in state, and probably rightfully so at this moment, despite the fact that they have opened up the season with back-to-back top 10 teams, the Forreston team that we're seeing right now does not seem as explosive as we would have thought at the beginning of the season for a team that's trying to compete for a state championship game. However, the Cardinals do have that experience. We are still young in the season, so there's still some things that they need to work on, continue to improve and develop at the same time. For the Pirates, they're led by Jack Reese and Miles Schumacher. Those two both had, not big games because of the score differential, but they were able to put up respectable numbers in a short amount of playing time that they had. Reese had 65 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Schumacher rushed for 73 yards and a touchdown. So, the Pirates will need to continue to balance out their attack. Roman Romer looked good at quarterback for the Pirates last week as well. So for the Pirates to be able to do anything here, they're going to have ball control. They're going to be able to have to shut down the Forreston run and force them to throw the ball. If they can do that, they're going to find some success early. But can they sustain that success for all 4 quarters? That's where Forreston is really good at. They're very good at being able to take what they want to do and then continue to just do it time and time and time again until they wear you down. So, like I said, the Cardinals come in as a 2-touchdown favorite. My preseason pick was for Forreston to go 8-1. I feel that they've had some tough games in back-to-back weeks, and they're going to be able to come out here in Week 3 and put up a good showing here. They are my pick to win, but I'm very intrigued by this game. I want to see what Galena does, because this could be that game that determines if Galena can make the playoffs or not. If they can pull out the upset win, that definitely gives them that one step closer to being a more formidable opponent down the road for other teams like Stockton and Dakota, Du-Pec even, to really kind of chime in and see where the Pirates are for the year. But this one's got big intrigue for sure. My pick's the Cards. Our next game takes us back to Fulton, where they will play host to EPC. Both these teams enter with 0-2 records. Last week, EPC lost to Du-Pec 42-0, and Fulton lost to Lena Winslow 32-8. Fulton won this game in Week 8 last year, 35-14. One of the biggest question marks that we have here is that both teams need to get a win in order to keep their hopes of the playoffs alive. But right now, EPC is on life support with Forreston and Winslow still on schedule, among a few other teams as well that can provide fits for them. Fulton's also going to enter this game as a 3-touchdown favorite in this one. Last week, Dravenzier was the leading guy for EPC with 23 yards rushing in a game that they had no control in, as they just got ran over by Du-Pec left and right. For the Steamers, Dom Kramer's been the guy that they've had to rely on despite the 0-2 start. He's thrown for 266 yards and 4 touchdowns, 52 yards rushing on the season. He's going to have other contributions as well. They have to be able to get Skylar Crooks and A.J. Boardman going in the backfield. Balin Damoff, Trevor Theismann, and Jacob Hausengay need to continue to have abilities to be able to get downfield and make plays when the ball's thrown to them. Those 3 guys can help really boost what this Fulton offense is capable of doing with the athleticism that they have in it, provided that they stick to their keys, stick to the plays, and get themselves open. With that, we got to see better line play for the Steamers. We got to see better decision-making out of Kramer as well. There's times where he doesn't always see everything downfield that you would think that he would be capable of seeing. And some of that's just maturation process. It's only 2 weeks into his first year starting at quarterback. You can expect him to grow from that. And if he does, this Fulton Steamer offense and team is very capable of doing what we expect them to do, and that's to make the playoffs. And when they get to the playoffs, depending on how everything lays out, they're in a position where they can definitely make some noise once again. While we open up the season, we kind of expected Fulton to be here at 0-2 to start, but you never know. They came out with that very good game against Forreston in week 1 that they eventually lost 22-18. Had they done a couple things different in that game, a couple different decision makings that took place, they probably could have still eked out a win there, but that's not the case, unfortunately. They are where they're at right now, and now it's the time for them to turn that around. But EPC is another team that we were pretty high on, and they have not gotten out of the gates very well at all. They did outrush Galena in week 1, but they still lost convincingly. So this is a big call for EPC to pull off this upset, but my pick is the Steamers. We head over to Stockton, where the Blackhawks are going to play host to rival Winslow. Winslow enters this game 2-0 after they beat Fulton 32-8. And Stockton comes in with a 1-1 mark after they beat Hayworth 47-13. Last year, Winslow won this game 52-8 in week 8. Leamon has owned this rivalry since 2013, and it will enter this game as a 5-touchdown favorite. There are questions, though. Winslow is curious as to what Stockton is. There's also things that are questionable about Winslow. We've already heard people talking about how Winslow is not as dominant as they have been in years past. Well, we kind of knew that they would fall off a little bit. They lost a lot of experience for one. They lost 18 overall starters. So they got a lot of fresh, young faces. It's also early in the season. One thing that we've always known about Coach Aaron and his staff is they're never going to show their hand early, especially on game film against opponents that they have either seen in the playoffs in recent years, such as Fulton, or teams that they expect to see in the playoffs, or teams that they're going to be able to exchange film with that they're going to put too much on tape early in the season for other teams to start scouting them on. Now, with that, Winslow did what Winslow does, and that was just run the ball meticulously and methodically. There was no need to rush down the field. There was never a time in the game where they did not have control of the game. They scored on each of their first 2 possessions to take a 16-0 lead. Their third possession of the half, their last possession of the half, actually resulted in a touchdown that got called back for holding. They convert that. They go into halftime up 24-0. That's one thing that people fail to realize. The other time is in the second half, Lena Winslow got down to the 2-yard line. It got called back for holding. They got back to the 7, faced 4th and goal from the 7, did not convert, had to turn the ball over on downs. Those are the only 2 drives without the subs in the game that Lena Winslow did not convert into scores. So what kind of gets me is when people are like, well, they weren't dominant. I don't know which game you were watching because they didn't throw a single pass. They didn't have to rush anything. They were in complete and full control of the game at the line of scrimmage, on the ball. Their leading rusher was Gage Dunker, who ran for 188 yards and 4 touchdowns and pretty much almost averaged 10 yards a carry. I don't know. I mean, that seems pretty dominant to me, but yes, you could say that, okay, Lena Winslow, for the first time in the last 3 years, they did not score 52 or 54 points against the Steamers. Do you expect to always score that? No. But this very easily could have been a running clock situation at the same time. Had they scored that touchdown and it stuck on a backside block that got called for holding, they go up 24-0. Those 2 touchdowns that they score later in the second half, that's a running clock situation right there among itself. So, it's just one of those things where, did Fulton play good? Probably not. Not in my opinion. They did not play that well. They barely gained 100 yards of offense against the starters. They allowed Lena Winslow to kind of do what they wanted to do. The Panthers controlled the line at the offensive defensive sides of the ball. And some of the complaints I heard were similar to what CPC fans said last year. Well, they're not that good. We could have had it. We could have done this. We could have done that. And it's like, you're down 4 touchdowns when you finally scored against the second string team. Like, I don't know what else to tell you there. But regardless, Lena Winslow is still the team to beat, and they are going to continue to be that team to beat until somebody does it. And right now, that's the Blackhawks. They want to do that. Tanner Guile ran for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. Carl Hubb added 79 yards in the touchdown. Colby Tucker's been able to show us that he can throw the ball, and Brady Haas has been doing very well on the receiving end of things as well. So Stockton's been able to get a good mixture of run and pass going, kind of what we expected to see out of them. They did have, a little bit of struggles week 1, but that was week 1. 2, you're playing Du-Pec, a team that a lot of coaches and a lot of people among the area kind of felt that Du-Pec would be a team competing for a conference title, and right now they sit at 2-0, so they're still in that battle. If Stockton can keep this game close, that can definitely open up some more eyes around not just the NUIC, but the state as well, on what it's going to take in order to take down the Panthers. But we must not forget that the Panthers are riding a 21-game win streak at the same time. So there's going to be some obstacles that are going to come up and provide challenges for the Panthers. And they have to be able to answer that bell. Stockton wants to get back in the playoffs. While this game is not a game that's going to hurt them if they do not win it, this game is also the same game that can definitely burst them in the right direction if they can pull off the upset. I'm picking the Panthers in this game, but there's definitely a lot of intrigue behind these 2 teams, and there's opportunities for growth for both the Blackhawks and the Panthers to see which direction this game goes. We move over to the west suburbs where Aurora Central Catholic will play host to West Carroll. This game is very intriguing. West Carroll enters 0-2. Aurora Central Catholic enters at 1-1. It's the first time meeting between both these teams. Last week, West Carroll lost to Galena 49-0, and Aurora Central Catholic lost to East Peoria 57-20. West Carroll has yet to score a point on the year, but this could be the game that puts the Thunder into the win column. And if it does, it's only going to help the remaining NUIC teams that are in the playoff hunt be able to get that additional point for those playoff points. And surprisingly enough, West Carroll will enter this game as a 2-touchdown favorite, despite the fact that they have yet to score a point on the year. Don't ask me how it works. I don't know how it works. I just take a look at the stats. I go through the information. I put it out there, and boom, here's what we have. In order for West Carroll to do that, they're going to have to pick up their offensive plays, and that's going to be behind Rafe Pickard-Shitkin. He's thrown for 92 yards last week, along with 38 yards rushing. They're going to have to do a little bit more. They're going to have to be able to compete and do a lot in order for the Thunder to see this through. Is it possible that they can get it done? Yes, it is. Obviously, they have a team that feels confident playing with each other, and they have a coach in Coach Bixler who is trying to say, hey, West Carroll needs to be able to make the playoffs. If we don't make the playoffs, it's a failure. Now, I'm going to go out there and say that nobody expects West Carroll to make the playoffs. That's outside of that West Carroll program. But, like I said, this is a big game for West Carroll to get into the win column, to start to propel that. And if they do, that's a great win for the Thunder. Aurora Central Catholic is a 3A school. They have not made the playoffs in quite some time, but it's still a bigger school with an opportunity for West Carroll to get a W, which will help the rest of the NUIC out as well. So I'm going to pick West Carroll in this game.
Our 11-man game of the week is brought to you by Best Realty. Best Realty has been helping Northern Illinois tackle their real estate needs since 1990. Whether you're buying or selling, in the market for residential, commercial, or acreage, they'll help you get the best deal. Call the Best Realty team at 815-248-3408 or visit them online at bestrealtyproperties.com.
Our NUIC 11-man Best Realty Game of the Week takes us to Pecatonica, where Du-Pec will play host to Dakota. Dakota enters this game at 1-1, while Du-Pec enters at 2-0. Last week, Dakota lost to Forreston 18-8, and Du-Pec beat EPC 42-0. These two teams met last year in Week 6, where Du-Pec won 48-20. The Rivermen are going to enter this game as a 6-point favorite. And the last time that Dakota beat Du-Pec was the first year that the Rivermen made it to the playoffs, back in 2019, when Dakota beat them 28-20 in Week 3. For that to happen again, Dakota is going to have to lean on a couple of things. One, they have to be able to get Jaden Gordon running the ball. Last week, he didn't do well with the ball on the ground, but he did pick up 49 yards receiving. Benny Gordon led the rushing attack with 48 yards and a touchdown. Those two guys were the key contributors to their win over Fisher in Week 1. Obviously, here in Week 2, they were the leading stat getters for the Indians as well in a close loss. And for the Indians to continue to move in the winning ways, they have to be able to get the line play up front to be able to make the holes that they need to get these backs to the second level. If they can consistently get runs to the second level at a consistent basis, they're going to have a decent time against the Rivermen. And the reason being is because right now Dakota has a bigger line than Du-Pec. It's going to come down to who can be more physical up front and win that line of scrimmage. And with Dakota's size, they should be able to do that. But on the other side of the ball is Cooper Hoffman. And with Hoffman at quarterback, he can do anything. He threw for 219 yards ran for 88 yards, had another 5-touchdown performance. He's had contributions from Jalen Nowd, who ran for 116 yards and a touchdown. Brody Black and Drew Williams picked up some big receiving yards as well behind the arm of Hoffman. And then we can't forget about Jackson Diedrich. So, Du-Pec has these athletes, but one of the biggest questions that we keep seeing, and one of the things that I brought up in the preseason is, you can have all the athletes you want. It's great. You have to have them. But if you don't have a line that's going to play at the level that you need to play at, it doesn't matter what your athletes do, because they're not going to have the protection in order to make the plays that they need to make. And you can only be so athletic before you're getting brought down to the ground. With that, it brings up another question, too, that I had brought up after my week 2 outlook. Is Du-Pec capable of truly being a top 10 team? They're going to enter week 3, most likely, ranked in the top 15. They might crack top 10. Who knows? There's even in the max prep ratings, they're like ranked number 8 in Class 3A right now. And we'll have to see how it goes. But if I had to put a team on upset alert right now, it's going to be Du-Pec, just because Dakota is bringing a physical style of play. They showed it against Forreston despite the loss. They showed it in week 1 against Fisher, that they are able to man you up front and be able to push you around. And if they can do a couple things offensively, they have to be able to control the ball. So they can't afford turnovers. Obviously, that's just a simple thing that you can't do anyway. You can't turn the ball over. But they can't make the dumb mistakes. They can't have stupid penalties. They have to be able to control the clock and run the ball. Defensively, they're going to be able to have to stop the pass. And right now, they've been a little susceptible in the past game when we saw them against Fisher. They did make some plays. They had some defensive interceptions, but there's a couple times where they got caught on their heels and made some bad penalties at the same time. Against a team like Du-Pec, you can't have that happen. And that's what makes this game really intriguing to watch. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this game, as there should be. Dakota needs to be able to pull off a win over these next 3 weeks. Otherwise, they're going to enter week 6 at 1-4 and needing to win out the last 4 weeks in order to have a shot at the playoffs. And that's why, this is one of those games where, can they change what they do in order to get that win? And at the same token, will Dakota be able to keep up with the speed of Du-Pec? Dakota does have some speed in the defensive backfield, but they have to be able to make plays. They cannot panic, and they have to be able to attack. And then on the offensive side, like I said, they just have to control the clock, control the ball. They got to be able to get the Gordon boys going. They got to be able to get Tristan Alexander going. Nolan Mayberry needs to be able to direct this offense with a cool, comfortable look to it and just run it the way it needs to run in order to keep it going. The line has to play. They have to get their blocks. If they can do that, I would not expect to see I would not be surprised to see an upset in this game. This game definitely has that upset alert feeling to it, in my opinion, based off of what we've seen out of Du-Pec over the first 2 weeks. Part of the reason why it's our game of the week. But on paper, Du-Pec definitely looks like the better team. We'll see how it happens. They are at home, so my edge is going to go to the Rivermen. But like I said, watch out for an upset in this one.
Our NUICfootball.com state rankings are presented by Leading Edge Fundraising. If you need to raise funds for new uniforms, tournament expenses, equipment, or more, look no further. Brandon Sharp at Leading Edge makes it easy for you and your team to have a fun and competitive way to raise funds for your program. Give Brandon a call today at 563-514-1647. Leading Edge Fundraising, your premier fundraising company.
Our NUICfootball.com state rankings are presented by Leading Edge Fundraising. We're going to start with our 8-man poll, where coming in at number 1 are the Amboy Clippers at 2-0. Number 2 are the Polo Marcos, also at 2-0. Coming in at number 3 are the Milledgeville Missiles. At number 4, moving up one spot, are the Ridgewood Spartans. Falling down one spot is St. Thomas More. Moving up to number 6 are the Sobos of South Beloit. West Prairie, the Cyclones, find themselves at number 7. Martinsville moves up to number 8. Flanagan Cornell Woodland drops one spot despite the loss to number 9. Coming in at number 10 is Milford Cisna Park at 1-1. And receiving votes is West Central at 0-2. Moving over into Class 1A, Lena Winslow retains that number 1 spot at 2-0, followed by Forreston at number 2 at 2-0. Moving up from number 9 to number 3 are the Mustangs of Morrison after they beat previously number 1 ranked in Class 3A, the Princeton Tigers. Coming at number 4 are the Althoff Catholic Crusaders at 2-0. Number 5 is Camp Point Central as the Panthers slip a spot to number 5. They are 2-0. Moving up to number 6 is Deer Creek Mackinac as they are 2-0. Greenfield Northwestern is at number 7. Newman Catholic is at number 8, also at 2-0. Moving up to number 9 are the Hope Academy Eagles as they move to 2-0. And rounding out our top 10 are the Fulton Steamers at 0-2. Other teams that received votes were Aurora Christian at 1-1, the Dakota Indians at 1-1, Anawan Weathersfield at 1-1, and Stark County at 2-0. In Class 2A, retaining that number 1 spot for the 3rd straight week are the Trojans of Maroa Forsyth, who moved to 2-0, followed by Sangamo Conference foe, the Athens Warriors, also at 2-0. Coming at number 3 are the Seneca Irish at 2-0, and at number 4 is Bloomington Central Catholic at 2-0. Tri-Valley comes in at number 5, Pana is number 6, Knoxville comes in at number 7. The Westville Tigers make their way into our top 10 rankings for the first time this year as they move to 2-0. Farmington comes in at number 9 and Johnston City at number 10 as every team in the top 10 in Class 2A is 2-0. Other teams that receive votes, Rock Ridge at 1-1. Bismarck Henning Rossville Allen at 1-1. Marion Central Catholic at 0-2. Mater Dei at 1-1. St. Teresa at 0-2. The Orion Chargers are 2-0. El Paso Gridley 2-0. And the Shelbyville Rams are 2-0. And in Class 3A, still at number 1 are the Byron Tigers at 2-0, followed by Williamsville at number 2. Montini Catholic finds themselves at number 3, and a big win by St. Joseph Ogden moves them up to number 4 as they move to 2-0 with a conference win over Tolono Unity. At number 5 are the Princeton Tigers at 1-1. Number 6 are the Tolono Unity Rockets at 1-1. Number 7 is Wilmington at 1-1. Du-Pec finds themselves at number 8 at 2-0. Stillman Valley comes in at number 9 at 1-1. And the Comets of Reed Custer are at number 10 at 1-1. Other teams that received votes were Prairie Central at 1-1, Roxana at 2-0, and Olympia at 2-0.
Our NUICfootball.com Players of the Week is sponsored by our friends at Benchwarmers. Each winner receives an extra large pizza and a dozen boneless wings. Just stop in to claim your prize. Located in Freeport at 2143 West Galena Avenue, Benchwarmers is a great place to gather with friends to watch the big game. For American pub food and fun at its finest, check out Benchwarmers. And make sure you try the cheese curds.
Our Benchwarmers 8-man Player of the Week winner goes to Polo's Brock Solto. Solto rushed for 248 yards, threw for another 10 yards, compiling 5 total touchdowns in his team's 50-6 win over Orangeville to help bring Polo to a 2-0 record to start the year. Congratulations, Brock, on your Player of the Week honors. Our Benchwarmers 11-man Player of the Week honors go to Lena Winslow's Gage Dunker. Dunker picked up 188 yards rushing and scored all 4 of Lena Winslow's touchdowns in a 32-8 win over previously number 6 ranked Fulton. Congratulations, Gage, on your Player of the Week honors in your team's big win. Well, that gives you a rundown of what we see moving into week 3. Obviously, a couple big games here on the docket this week with Amboy at Martinsville, Orangeville at River Ridge, Milledgeville at Polo, Forreston at Galena, APC at Fulton, and of course, our games of the week, Milledgeville and Polo, which we already announced, along with Dakota at Du-Pec. So, there's a lot of great things to look forward to in week 3. Still a lot of questions to be answered, but we're starting to see some separation in what we thought we would see moving into the season. But there's still, like I said, there's still more answers to be seen here, and it's only going to get more interesting. So get out to the games, cheer on your teams. As always, root for the NUIC.